Hi, I'm Robin,
And I'm Vicky
and you've joined us on Let's Get Curious.
on Matters That Matter. Today, Robin and I are chatting to Shannah Kennedy, Master Life Strategist, best-selling author, and one of Australia's most respected life coaches with over 20 years' experience helping people transform their work, well-being, and life. In this episode, Shannah unpacks the power of having a life plan and why taking the time to pause, breathe, reset, and refocus can bring clarity, purpose, and direction to every part of life. So get ready to rethink how you're setting your goals, caring for yourself, and designing a life that truly excites you. So, folks, let's be curious.
Welcome, Shannah, to our podcast. We're so excited to have a conversation with you, and we would really love to hear your story. So, my understanding is you were selling sunglasses, an achievement junkie, and here you are now.
Mm.
How did that
How
happen?
does that happen? Well, thank you, Robin. Thank you, Vicky, for having me. It's really great to be able to come on a podcast and share really practical tools, tips, and takeaways. So, thank you for even having a podcast. I think it's such a gift for the world that it's at our fingertips now that we can get all of this knowledge, you know, we can go and seek knowledge, we can share knowledge. So, yeah, thank you. So, my story was yes, I was in stockbroking actually, straight out of school, which is really bizarre when they had the stock exchange floor and everyone was yelling and screaming and there was a chalkboard. So that's how old I am. And I thought that would be so exciting to go and work in something like that. So I did. And I worked there for quite a few years. And I worked out it was a bit like the Wolf of Wall Street. It really didn't sit with my values. And I saw a lot of things I didn't want to see and lost a lot of faith in humans. And, this is the late 80s when everything was very loose and very crazy. And so I switched industries. I went into the sport industry and thought, hopefully I'll find a better set of values here. And I got this job in sponsorship after a short stint with a golf company. And it was doing sponsorship deals with athletes, so buying and selling athletes to wear the sunglasses. So it's an incredible job because you get given a lot of money and you have to go and spend it. So, it's the right side of the desk to be sitting on. So hence you have a lot of people that want to be your best friend. So it was an incredible job. It was 200 athletes to look after every year in 10 different sports. And my job was really to build relationships with these people. So I completely married my job. It was 7 days a week. I loved it. I was trying to do triathlons myself because I was surrounded in so many fit people, trying to save money, trying to buy a house, all in my 20s, trying to burn every candle possible. And, I really thought that working hard was how you were going to make it. And coming from a European background, it was work hard like a badge of honor. If you sat down, you were lazy, or rest, that's lazy. Like it just wasn't even a word. Well-being wasn't even a word back then. So I married the job. I'm sure a lot of your listeners have done that too. And it cost me my health. So I got chronic fatigue by the time I was 30. I spent a year in bed. I could
One
not get up.
year. Oh my
No,
God.
could not get up. It was like you'd had the biggest party night of your life, but you hadn't had a drink. That's what it felt like. It felt like this shocking hangover. You'd been bruised all over, very, very painful, which ended in a very big depression because I didn't know who I was without my job.
Mm,
And I'm sure a lot of listeners here could actually say the same kind of thing is,
yeah.
if you don't know who you are without your job, you're married to your job and your title. And while I was in bed, I was really thinking about the athletes and thinking about the dark side of sport, which nobody ever talked about, which is who are they without their club or their team? And what is their life plan? What is their plan for beyond sport? and what are the foundations of who they are as a person. So 25 years ago, nobody even thought about that stuff. So I got myself a coach because I thought everybody has a coach that I know. So I want a coach too. So I didn't need a psychologist. I needed a coach, someone to really help unpack a lot of those work hard or go home type addictive mentality, achievement junkie thoughts, and think about how can I be a high performer with great sustainability throughout my life so I never end up back here. So that's what I invested in, and I studied life coaching. I think I was the first one in Melbourne through the International Coaching Academy that was, you know, gone through their course.
Yes.
And started my job, which everyone thought was just crazy. Like, why would you leave your Jerry Maguire job? And it was the hardest thing. It was, I'm setting up my office from home. Nobody worked from home. It was, I need to have a business that I can ramp up or ramp down around my health. And I'm really passionate now about a life plan because I had to do one for myself. Is how can you pace your life so that you never, ever flare chronic fatigue again? So it became really a passion project for me. And my husband to be said, I'll give you 2 years to make a go of it. Otherwise, I think you should get a job. So I had 2 years of grace, but luckily I opened my doors and the business took off because I had a lot of athletes come to me who already trusted me, who didn't know who they were without their job. So for 25 years, I've been sitting in this same office. I absolutely love my job. Coached over 1,000 people now and written 8 books with Penguin and go on tour speaking about life and wellness skills. And really, 10 years ago, when I wrote the life plan, nobody wrote books. Nobody was on the speaking circuit talking about health or well-being. So it was all very new. So there was a lot of opportunity for me.
You've spoken a little bit around the life plan and, as opposed to, what people often center around a career plan or a health plan, why is taking that more holistic approach so much more important than really narrowing, one particular focus from your perspective?
It's a great question. So having a life plan is like the big umbrella. It's like, what do you want with your life? What experiences do you want in your life? How do you want to feel in your life? Where do you want to be financially in life? Where do you want to be with your health in life? If you want children, what are the ages and stages of the children that you might want to build your career around? There are times when they really need you and times when they don't need you. What happens when they leave home. So it's actually like really opening your mind to your whole journey and what you would love if you were in the driver's seat of the journey rather than just reacting to things that are happening to you all the time.
Yeah.
And that develops deep confidence. And we can't do a life plan unless we know who we are. And that's why I always start with who are you without your job and what are your values? And most people cannot tell me what their set of values is.
I was just going to say, that's not a surprise. Yeah.
Yeah, like we never taught that at school. Nobody talks about it. You might work for a company that has some values up on the wall somewhere, but your values are really the lighthouse. They're the foundation of the house. They're everything. They're how you make decisions. So the first thing I had to do with my coach was learn how to breathe and learn what my values were. What is so important to you that you guard it with great care to protect the asset, which is yourself. So I really had to think about what is the most important thing in my life right now and what is the order. So I quickly worked out health is obviously first, and health isn't, do I have energy and can I get up? That's my purpose for life.
Yes.
Is
Yep.
what am I doing for my physical health? How I eat, how I move, how I sleep, how I breathe. What am I doing for my mental health to support it? What am I doing for my emotional health? Am I living a life of gratitude? Do I understand all of my emotions? Can I sit in them? Can I see that they all pass? And my spiritual health, do I have great perspective about belonging to something greater than myself? Just that first value is enough to keep me going for life, because that is a lifelong job that will keep changing as my body changes, as my lifestyle changes, as my kids' ages change. It will need to be modified the whole time. So a lot of people say, I don't know my purpose. Well, that's a big enough purpose for everybody, is to fine-tune your health, to live wide awake, to learn all of these skills, how you sleep hygiene, and learn about sleep and learn about food and learn about movement for your age and what's happening. And we've got so much amazing information to go and learn that it is a project for life. So values is really important. And the second one for me is family, obviously. And that doesn't mean, is my family happy? Because you're only as happy as your happiest child.
Yeah.
So, we're not going to be happy if anyone in the family is not happy. But what it means is, how am I going to show up for my family? How do I want to show up as a wife? How do I want to show up as a mum? How do I want to show up for my friends, as a daughter, as a coach, as a speaker? And then you can go and practice all of that. You can challenge yourself on that. So that's another project for life. And the third one for me is achievement, because if I'm not achieving, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
But it's how we frame achievement in our mind. So a lot of my clients are obviously A-type perfectionist go-getters, and it all leads to burnout.
Yes.
So what if we saw achievement as, what are the yin activities that we did to ensure that we could pace the race of life? Every day is a marathon. How are we going to pace the day? Are we taking a breath? Are we stopping at the Gatorade stations? All of that is really the whole foundation of what's most important for us.
I love that. That's so good. I just keep rewinding back though to at 30, being in bed, chronic fatigue, 31, and you're got to get a life coach, and looking at your, obviously you get your coach, but then you're thinking about spirituality and that broader thing that often doesn't come till much, much later in our lives. Like that's such a mature soul, or
Well, I had a really great coach, and I really went into the work of Louise Hay. You can
yes,
heal your life. Byron Katie, doing the
yes,
work, is what you're telling yourself 100% true. The work of Cheryl Richardson and Tony Robbins. And so I knew if I didn't have those skills, I would burn 100%, because I just didn't have an off switch. So when I'm really diving into the art of extreme self-care, which is completely against what I'd been raised to do, it was all new. It was actually a really exciting world to go and discover. And I'd also watched athletes who were incredibly high performers, but they also, what I forgot to observe was that high performing athletes really respect high performance recovery. If they don't recover, you can't turn up for a PB the next day. That got me thinking, wow, I need a recovery plan. When my phone's red, I plug it in, or if the petrol in the car is low, I fill it up. But what about me? What lights me up? What fills my tank? And I had to really spend years learning, what is that for me? Is it massage, acupuncture, Chinese herbs, spending time in nature, sitting down the beach, reading a trashy book? What are the things that actually consciously, actively fill, not just rest on the couch and watch Netflix, but actively fill? So, yeah, an incredible journey once you identify your values. And that's the first thing I do with all of my clients.
I love that.
And I suppose that's where part of our question is, because so many of us don't know, we are stuck on that hamster wheel. We are stuck in that life and allowing life to control our day to day as part of that process. So if you've got somebody who is in a state of feeling that overwhelm, not really sure where to start, what advice would you give them?
Yeah. Well, one would be values, obviously, and take that to the next level, is we need to see it every single day. So the brain's really, really lazy. So I had to put this sticky note on my car dashboard. I had to write on my mirror that these are the boss. These is what I work for. This is all that matters. So having visual, I think, is non-negotiable as well. Non-negotiable, because the brain needs a map. The other thing to start is coming home to self. And I think a lot of people have forgotten how to breathe. And I'm sure you see with all of your clients, nobody's breathing. They're holding their breath on the hamster wheel. There's no air. They don't breathe through their nose, they're mouth
Mm,
breathers, they don't
mm.
sleep properly. So, one of the first things that we can pick up the remote control on is how we use our breath. And learning to use the breath to calm anxiety, to calm overwhelm, and to be able to think clearly, we need air, we need space, we need internal space. So, even if the world is crazy around us, the first thing I had to do was create internal space for myself, which I did through breath. And it was simple as every time I wash my hands, do it really slowly and take 3 deep, grounding, soul nourishing breaths for myself. And that became my achievement. Not did we sell 10,000 books, but did I take my 3 deep, grounding, Roger Federer style, soul nourishing breaths?
So just
So,
for the audience who can't see, you've got
oh,
these
yeah,
beautiful
I've got
little
sticky
sticky
notes.
notes. Yeah, you want to just share? Yeah,
So everything is on a sticky note.
yeah.
Because the minute that it's a bit like driving your car and you turn the GPS on, then you relax and you just follow the GPS. When you take the GPS away, you have to really, really focus and it's really hard and you actually don't notice any of your drive
Mhm.
or the scenery. So the only way to really support and structure your brain is to have visual representation, hence my sticky notes. So on the bathroom mirror, it says take 3 breaths. On every bathroom mirror, it says take 3 breaths. Yeah. So my kids, the guest toilet, it says take 3 breaths. So these sticky notes have been around for 25 years. And the minute that I take them away, guess what will happen? I'll forget.
Mm.
We forget. So if something's really important to you, like drink 2 liters of water or take 3 breaths, we really need to give the brain a little bit of support and not expect it to be able to do all of that on its own and be self-motivated every day because it's not going to happen.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of visual. So I think if we can take 3 breaths, every time we're in the car, the supermarket queue, we turn the shower on, every time we wash our hands, that's at least 25 breaths a day instead of 0.
Mm.
Imagine the next 10 years with 25 breaths a day. You might make really different decisions. You may have different conversations. You may come back to the laptop and write a much nicer email. We need space. We need to pace.
That's brilliant.
I think sometimes in life we tend to complicate it. We tend to make it grander and bigger than it needs to be. But what I'm hearing is a lot of simplicity actually has the greatest impact and outcomes for ourselves. Is that fair?
Oh, 100%. If we can't master the basics and you're trying to do all the fancy stuff and the basics aren't there, it's nothing's going to work. So I always think of it as feeding the soil. Do the basics really well, like actually master them. If you're going to think about mindfulness, master it. Really focus on what you're tasting, what you're smelling, what you're hearing, what you're seeing. Like go into a skill really deeply so it becomes a part of you. So the breathing for me has become such a part of my life that I can be at the football and I can actually not hear anything. I can go into a breath like I'm meditating and watching football. It's the strangest thing. So it's about really controlling your nervous system. And I think that's more important than taking tablets and, trying to do all of this fancy stuff.
That's why we invited you onto our podcast. That's great.
Yes, I'm the simple person.
Yeah. Simple is the wisdom. Eventually society will realize it's going back to the most ancient principles, which are not that
And
hard.
simple is hard. Simple
Mm.
is hard because it's not shiny. It's not new. It's, take 3 breaths. Wow, what can that do? It can completely change your life.
Yeah.
It can completely get rid of anxiety. It can completely bring you home to self. It can completely stop your overanalysis and overthinking and overwhelm. We don't need to take a tablet if we really work with it. So to me, it all becomes a mini challenge,
Mm.
but I don't add many things on top of it. It's
Yeah.
just let's master the basics.
It's almost that power of self. I think a lot of times we look externally for external gratification, external environments to meet our needs, but it is that power of self that really allows us to transition in a whole other way.
Yeah, happiness is an inside job. You know, our online shopping is great and we get a nice little kick when the doorbell rings and then we open it and then we're like, oh, that's so great. And then a week later, it's all gone.
Mm,
It's
mm,
an inside job. And when people look at the science of happiness, which they can Google and look up the science of happiness, 50% is genetic. You know, you're a glass half full or you're a glass half empty person. I'm actually a glass half empty genetically. 10% on top of that is external, new car, new shirt, holiday, you know, fun time out at a concert. It's all 10%. 40% of your happiness, 40%, it's a lot, comes down to your rhythm and ritual of the day.
mm.
What are the things that you do that light you up? What have you built in that actually brings you joy? So my 3 breaths, every time I take 3 breaths, I'm like, you're such a winner. Like you did the most basic thing. Or, I always say start the day with the 3 M's, make your bed, move your body and mindfully breathe. And if I do that for the rest of my life, and I'm 90 and I'm making my bed, going for my walk and doing some breath work when I get back, I think I'll be pretty happy.
Yay.
I think I'd be pretty happy. And
That's
yes, I'll do some online shopping, but what are the big rocks that we need to cement that make us happy?
mm,
And it's all comes back to self. And Vicky, you sort of were talking about self. It is self-awareness, it's self-leadership, it's self-management. And we cannot expect any other person on the planet to fill our happiness tank. What we want to do is fill it and share it.
I wish everyone knew that happiness piece. I mean, joy and happiness are different, but it so much comes from within. That's a
Mm.
beautiful reminder. And talking about, these foundations and doing them well, and we're all mothers here, and I presume you've brought your children up that way, but would you be able to share a little bit about, you've got this full-on coaching career and,
Mhm.
young
Family.
children. Yeah.
Mhm.
How did you navigate that? I mean, you've obviously shared lots of gems, but the real nitty-gritty, the practical
Yeah,
stuff.
yeah. Well, yes, I started my business before I had children.
Okay.
They are now 19 and 21,
Yes.
and they've both flown the coop. So I have to remind myself that I've raised healthy birds. Only healthy birds leave the nest.
Yeah.
They're adventurous, they want gap years, I'm like, okay, well, you've done a good job, but it's a bit hard because they've gone.
Yes.
But they'll be back, no doubt. I think what I really did all the way along was not react.
Mm-hmm.
And my biggest skill that was the hardest thing for me was not react. So when they'd come home from school, I never said, how was your day? Never. Because if you just finish work and I pick you up and you get in the car and I'm like, how was your day? What did you eat? Who did you play with? What did you learn? You wouldn't be able to answer me. So I really thought about how they feel surviving the schoolyard, get in the car, maybe just say nothing, just say hello and just drive and put some music on so that they can just, oh, I just survived school, the bully in the playground. I didn't do that well on my test. How am I going to cope with that? They just need space, I think.
Mm. Yeah.
And then the family dinner was non-negotiable, which was, what is the rose and thorn of the day? And we all had to say it because it was a safe place for them to say what didn't work, what was the thorn, and we also had to share our thorns. So they got to help problem solve for us, even though they were little.
Mm,
And then as they get older, the problems get bigger, as you know.
mm.
Small kids, small problems, big kids, big problems. So when they're at a party and they say, oh, the year 12s were there with their cocaine, I would always say, that's interesting.
Interesting.
And I wouldn't say another word. And then I could see their brain going, oh, mum didn't react. Maybe I'll tell her the second sentence I was going to say. But if mum flew off the handle, oh, I'm not telling her anything.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, well, it's great. My kids tell me everything now, probably too much. Like, I don't want to know that much. But it was all about being a safe place to
Yeah.
have a great conversation because the parenting generation I came from, there was no conversation.
Yep.
You
Yep.
didn't talk about anything. And anything that wasn't good is swept under the carpet.
Yep. Well, that's our
So,
generation. Yes.
yes. So
Yes.
I wanted to break that. And I really thought about how I wanted to be treated as a child and just be their champion. Yeah.
And the value in just being seen and heard. Like we
Yeah.
all want to be seen and heard, but as a little one, that's a game changer.
Yes. And then it was about how do I manage my energy to be able to coach people all day and listen to their problems, and then have the energy for the family working from home.
Mm,
And so I had to very quickly train myself to shut the laptop, to close the door, to close the filing cabinet. Like none of those thoughts are allowed outside of this room into the lounge room or the kitchen or the bedroom. I was only allowed to think of my clients in this room. So that was a big skill to try and learn and master, and to swap my hat. You know how we talked about family, how I show up for my clients. I had to swap my hat and go out there, and I always did it through breath. You've got to sit and breathe until you're ready to open that door and go out to the family. Or with my husband, he's a CEO and he'd come home and the dog's at the front door first, of course. Sometimes the dog's there for 15 minutes and the kid's like, "What's Dad doing?" And I would always say he's finishing his day. He's finishing the phone call in the car. He's not going to walk in on the phone, or he's taking his breaths, and he's always walked in with a smile. Like the most important meeting of your day is the one in the afternoon when you greet your family. So it was just about what are a couple of little brain hacks that we could do. And it was always before you turn the key, take a breath, like it is the most important meeting of the day.
that's brilliant.
Mm.
Yeah. As well as setting those boundaries, I think, for many of us, we're guilty of taking stuff home, ruminating it, not just at home, but in our sleep. And we wake up and, creating those boundaries where you can call it. And as you said, some practical ways to actually say, no, this is the end, of being able to continue that. Yeah.
Yeah. I always said to my clients, life's like a playground, and the Ferris wheel is your job. So you get on the Ferris wheel in the morning and you go around, but you have to warm up first before you get on the Ferris wheel and run that marathon around the Ferris wheel. So you need your morning routine before you open the phone. So the 3 M's before you even touch your phone is make your bed, move your body, mindfully breathe, then open your phone, and there the marathon starts. So if you open your phone in your bed, you've started running, you've started your stress response before you even got out of bed. So I was very particular about that. And then you had your whole day. You could pace yourself by taking 3 breaths every time you wash your hands in the bathroom. Okay, that's good because that's settling all of those conversations in the brain. And then same with switching off. You're a high-performing human. Every mum is a high-performing human. They're juggling 20 different races a day. So if you're a high-performing human, you need high-performance recovery. So what does that look like for you at night time? So for me, it was always brushing my teeth after dinner. Otherwise, I'd eat like chocolate on the couch. But I thought, no, I've got to stop and signal to my body, that's it. There's no more phone. You're not double screening, triple screening on the couch. You have to shut the phone down. So all of our phones before dinner went away. And then we'd have our rose and thorn, and then we'd do their homework or whatever. And for me, it was lying with my legs up the wall and doing some stretching in front of Netflix. And then I was allowed to sit on the couch. So just treating myself like an athlete, even though I'm not. And I think all parents should treat themselves like an athlete because we have such fast-paced lives. And the world is so busy that we are all high-performing humans, and we actually need to think about what our strategy is so that we don't overtrain or burn out.
That's fantastic. Would you like to share a little bit about the books that you've written or how that came about? You're really passionate, from your
Yeah, very
experience in
passionate.
coaching.
So after coaching for about 10 years, I thought, oh, I'm saying the same thing over and over again. I need to write it in a book. And so I sort of, thought I want a Donna Hay style cookbook because I love Donna Hay because everything was simple and I'm not a great cook. And it looked nice. So I like that. So I want a Donna Hay cookbook with life skills that we don't get taught at school. full of all the questions that would help us unlock our self-awareness and our self-leadership and our self-management. So I ended up in the cookbook department of Penguin after multiple rejections from so many companies saying, you're mad and we don't really care about life skills or well-being. So it was one of the first books ever to have pictures in it that was on the self-help shelf. So the life plan I was very passionate about, and we spent 3 days photographing every single photo in that book, like a cookbook. And that sold over 100,000 copies. So that was huge because
Wow.
most authors sell 5,000.
Yeah.
5,000 is considered very good in this country. So I was very proud of that. And it's still going strong and in multiple languages around the world. And Plan B came in lockdown because I'd spent, 20 years coaching people through change, divorce, business athletes who are, redundant, health diagnosis that really is a curveball. So I thought I'd put that all into a book about what the brain has to go through to experience change and come out good on the other end. And then I did some great collaborations with some friends who are pioneers in their field, like Lyndall Mitchell, who, started Aurora Day Spa. And so we wrote 4 books together, Chaos to Calm and Restore and Shine and Night. And then the latest one, Elevate. So they're sort of my creative outlets. And I think we can all be creative and do different things to keep us enjoying our role and our job. We need to keep reinventing ourselves. In lockdown, I also created vision board kits because all athletes have vision boards on the wall. I'd been teaching people to have sticky notes forever, and I'd always done my own vision boards. And people said, well, mine never looks nice. So I designed these vision boards, went to a craft company. We sold 100,000 units in one Christmas at Kmart and Big W.
Oh,
And they were vision board kits where I'd picked all the pictures, all the words, all the quotes, and it all color matched. So it looked amazing. So they're actually in Aldi in the US at the moment.
Oh, that's amazing. Wow.
Yeah, all from this little room, all
Goodness.
by myself. And I think people need to get out of their own way sometimes, like
Yeah.
we're not going to do it perfectly. Maybe no one's going to read my book. You're doing it for your own happiness.
Yes.
Not how many people are going to buy the book. It's, I want to enjoy writing a book. And if it helps one person, that's amazing. And that's all I would tell myself.
And I think often we have a tendency to overanalyze it, to overcomplicate it in lots of ways. And as we said earlier, simplicity is often what people are looking for. So, the success of your books demonstrate there's a need out there. People are looking for some guidance as part of that process. But, having easy ways that people can follow would really allow them to then take themselves on part of that journey as well.
And stop the stories. Like, we're very good at telling stories to ourselves. And a lot of Byron Katie's work I really went into, which was, is that 100% true, what you just told yourself? And the answer is always no, it's not. So I'd really challenge myself to say, well, that's not true. What if someone does like reading that book? What if it did help someone? So let's just write it and let's stop all the stories you're telling yourself about how, you nearly failed English at school and you're not good at writing and you're not good at expressing yourself. And let's just stop all the stories and just write a book and see what happens.
Yeah, simple. And I mean, those stories, it goes both ways, right? They program the body
Yes.
programming the mind. It's just that big negative loop, that negative bias.
And the brain is always spying on the breath. So if you're holding your
Yes.
breath, the brain is saying, wow, you're stressed. So I'm going to put all that stress signal out. So I think using our breath and our affirmations and the mirror and washing our hands slowly, I think it's probably the most high performance thing anyone could bring into their life.
So would that be our top takeaways, your top that you'd want to share with our audience, those things or anything?
Yes, I think there's a few. One is, who are you? Which is, what are your values, coming home to self and breathing? Where are you going? What's the vision that you have for yourself? And I always say, think about your 10-year-older self. So I would be 65. So what do I need to do today for my 65-year-old self? Why did I walk this morning? Why did I do the breath? Why did I make my bed? Why did I go to Pilates today? I didn't feel like it, let me tell you, it's Friday, but I did it for my 65-year-old self. Why did I put the sticky note up? For her. You know, so a lot of the things that are boring, or taking my supplements that are boring, I'm doing it for her. So I always feel like it's a nice thing to do rather than a have to do. So where are you going? I think is really important, and having a vision and a vision board for yourself. And then thirdly, how are you going to manage yourself? Like, where are your boundaries? What are your non-negotiables? Just keep them really simple, really simple. That really do fill your tank, and they're necessary. It's not selfish, it's self-care.
So, speaking about your 10-year older self, what lays ahead for you? I'd be really interested.
Oh,
What
my
have you got planned
65-year-old
ahead?
self. Well, I need to walk the Camino before 60, so I've walked part of it twice, but the whole thing is 40 days. So I had to wait for my children to finish school. My mum's passed away. I am looking after my dad at the moment, so I can't do it yet. But when I can do it, that will be the first thing. And I really want to teach children how to breathe. I'd love to go into schools and teach kids how to breathe so that they don't experience such anxiety and overwhelm because of the world that they live in. So I've got lots of things on my list to study. I am studying to be a breathwork master. I want to study to be a mindfulness master. Like all the things that are part of that health bucket, I just want to keep studying because it's all adding. It's all adding into the business of self.
Yeah.
So Matthew McConaughey, when he did his Oscar speech, and people can Google this, Matthew McConaughey Oscar speech. And he's the one that I picked that up from, that one speech. And he said, my role model is my 10-year older version of myself. So when I'm 70, I'm going to be chasing my 80-year-old self. I'm never going to be that person because I'm always going to be serving the person who's ahead of me, the bigger, better version. And just that one sentence, I just picked it up, wrote it on a sticky note. How old am I in 10 years? And what am I doing for her today? You know, I'm not going to go and buy more towels because we've got enough towels. And she would rather go on a health retreat or a holiday. So it's changed the way I spend. It changed everything for me. Yeah, it was really powerful. So when you find powerful words, you have to write them. You have to see them, and they become a part of you.
And I absolutely love your future goal. I think, that aspiration is phenomenal. And I wish you all the very success with that because I think that's amazing. But you also touched on the importance of building capacity in children to understand this as well. And for me, I see that as so, so important, building this understanding in children. And yes, they're starting to introduce, some mindfulness practices, both in this tiny little, quadrant of their world. But I think that's so important, that goal.
I mean, the breath is the remote control to your whole body. It's the only automatic and controllable system in the whole body. And nobody talks about it. Everyone's mouth breathing, everyone's holding their breath. And if we could just teach kids, do you sleep with your mouth open? You're letting all your fizz out.
That's cute.
It's like a soda stream, and you're sleeping with the mouth open, you're sleeping with the top off, and all your fizz is out, and you're exhausted and you're tired. And let's get the basics right, the mechanics right, and give them tools like breathing out longer than your in-breath to calm yourself down when you feel a bit wobbly. I'm very passionate about that.
My daughter's actually a primary school teacher, and she often talks about how wired the kids are, from the morning when they walk in the door, let alone, after lunch or after play, and how challenging it is to try and get them to calm and to focus as part of that process. And also, in today's society, every second child almost has a diagnosis of some sort, and how impactful this would be, not just from, dealing with their emotions and their world, but also in their mental well-being.
Because they're having breakfast watching something, right? So they've started that marathon, and that cortisol spike and the stress response before they even got to school. So, we were reading the back of the Wheaties packet and walking to school with nothing, with space, with creative thoughts. Whereas they're in a world of hurt 5 minutes after they get up. So, yeah, I think the classroom can start with 3 deep breaths, everyone closing their eyes and settling. And that teachers say if it's a windy day, it's 10 times worse. You can't settle them. So investing in 5 minutes of breathing and then teaching would be incredible.
And hopefully go home and teach some parents as well.
Yes, yes, it would be great, wouldn't it? It'd be very good. Yeah. So there's lots of work to be done ahead. I certainly am just as passionate now as I was 25 years ago. And I actually feel now that the kids have grown up, I feel like I can begin.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
It's a big change, isn't it? Yes.
Yeah, it's a huge change. But I think, okay, well, now I can begin my career.
Yes. Yep.
It was a practice run before.
Well, you've been running the marathon, though. There's been lots happening in that process, though.
There definitely has.
Training for it. And how can people find you? And is there anything else that you'd like to share, a call to action or anything apart from what you've shared, those beautiful gems?
Well, there's always Instagram, which is Shannah Kennedy. There is my website, shannahkennedy.com. And on there's lots of free resources. So there's free screensavers. You know how we need to visually see the words? So they're words you can download for free as a screensaver. Things that we need to remember, like control the controllables, the 3 M's, this too shall pass, be open to receiving, all the beautiful words. They can just download 16 of them and have them on rotation. And there's also a free vision board kit that they can download with, how to create a vision board, how to set goals, what the values are, and you print out all the little words, and then you just have to add your own pictures. So that'd be great. And anyone who's interested in coaching, it's one-on-one is my passion, and I do 4 sessions with you and we create your life plan. We go through your values, your vision, your goals, your habits, what's draining you, and really come home to self with someone holding your hand. Beautiful. All available through the website.
Beautiful. That's fantastic. And I know I'm certainly going to take on some of these little gems that you've shared with us, and I know the listeners will. So thank you so much, and for your dedication and simplicity in how you bring, I think, these tools are just so simple. And certainly, coming from someone that's embodied, and obviously you've watched these elite athletes and had your own crash, and your wisdom certainly is very valued. So thank you so much.
My pleasure. And as I said in the beginning, thank you to the 2 of you, because you never know the ripple effect.
Yes.
Someone might read my book and it changes their life. Someone might be going for a walk tomorrow and hear this podcast and it changes their life, but you'll never know. But it's a beautiful gift that you're giving the world.
Oh,
so thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thanks, folks, for listening to today's episode of Let's Get Curious with the incredible Shannah Kennedy. If there's one key takeaway from today, it's this: clarity doesn't happen by accident. It happens by design. And when you pause long enough to create a life plan, you stop reacting and you start leading your life with intention. If you'd love to dive deeper, you can connect with Shannah at Shannah Kennedy Life, explore her best-selling books, including The Life Plan, or book a session with her on her website. We've popped all the links in the show notes for you. And if this conversation sparks something in you, make sure you subscribe and follow Let's Get Curious for more episodes that will absolutely tickle your curiosity. Thanks for listening. Stay intentional, stay curious, and we'll see you soon.